My stepdaughter called me selfish for divorcing her cheating mother after I raised her for 16 years. I walked away without looking back. 3 months later, they wanted to reconnect, but I said no. Hello Reddit I plus here. Hi, my name is Malcolm Price. I'm 45, and for 16 years, I poured every ounce of love I had into a family that was never truly mine. I married Elaine when I was 29, and at the time, she was a single mother to a bright-eyed, sassy little girl named Sienna. She was 6 when we met. Her biological father was never in the picture, ran off when she was still in diapers, and Elaine always said she was waiting for the right man to help her raise her daughter. I wanted that to be me. At first, life was good. We weren't rich, but we were happy. I worked construction during the day and took side gigs at night to save for Sienna's future. I was the one who taught her to ride a bike, helped her with homework, stayed up during her fevers, and stood in the front row at every school play and graduation. I even gave up a job out of state because Sienna was scared of moving away from her friends. I wasn't her biological father, but I was her dad. I thought I was building something real, a home, a family, a future. But everything came crashing down 2 days after our 16th wedding anniversary. Elaine was acting strange, guarded, always on her phone, hiding texts. She started working late, even though her job at the local clinic never had evening shifts before. Then, one night, she left her phone unlocked on the counter while she showered. I wasn't snooping, but a message popped up from a man named T. Last night was perfect. Can't wait to hold you again. My stomach dropped. I opened the conversation and there it was. Photos, messages, hotel bookings. It had been going on for 8 months. The man? Travis, a pharmaceutical representative who regularly visited the clinic. Younger, cocky, and clearly not burdened by things like loyalty. When I confronted her, Elaine didn't even deny it. She just stared at me coldly and said, "I didn't think you'd find out." Like that made it better. I wanted to scream. Instead, I packed a bag and went to stay with my brother. I spent the next 3 days hollow, numb, and when I called Sienna, who was now 22 and in college, I expected at least a shred of sympathy, but what I got instead broke me more than Elaine ever could. She said, "You're being selfish. You're blowing up everything over one mistake. My mom deserves to be happy, and so do I. You're being dramatic." I was stunned, speechless. I raised that girl. I never missed a birthday, a game, a recital, and now, because I wouldn't stay married to her cheating mother, I was the villain. That day, I made a decision. I would walk away. Not just from Elaine, but from Sienna too. It killed me. But love isn't supposed to be a chain around your neck, choking you with guilt and misplaced loyalty. I filed for divorce and cut off all communication. 3 months later. It was late afternoon when my phone buzzed. Sienna. The message said, "I'm sorry, I miss you. Mom does too. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I put the phone down. The next day, Elaine emailed me. Apparently Travis had dumped her. Turns out he wasn't looking for a ready-made family. He was looking for fun, and now that fun was over, so was he. Elaine wrote, "I realize now what I lost. I was stupid. Please, Malcolm, let's meet. Maybe we can start over." I didn't reply. A week later, I ran into Sienna at the grocery store. She looked thinner, worn down. She smiled nervously and said, "Hey, I didn't mean what I said. I was just angry. I didn't think you'd cut us off." I looked at her. This young woman I once considered my own child, and I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. I said gently, "You called me selfish when I finally chose myself. After 16 years. That's not anger, Sienna. That's clarity. And no, I'm not coming back. I loved you like a father, but that door closed the day you slammed it in my face." She teared up and whispered, "You really don't want anything to do with us?" I nodded. "I want peace, and peace means letting go of people who only loved me when it was convenient." I walked away that day, again, but this time, it didn't hurt. It felt like breathing for the first time in years. It's been 9 months since that last conversation. Elaine tried again once or twice, but I blocked her number. Sienna never reached out again. I've started over. I moved to a new city, bought a small house. I coach high school football now. Something I always wanted to do. I adopted a dog. Simple things, but they're mine. Sometimes people think walking away is weakness, but I learned the hardest lesson of my life. Loyalty should never be a leash. I was a father. I was a husband. I gave everything, but when it was time to choose between continuing to bleed for people who wouldn't lift a finger for me or finally healing, I chose myself, and I'd do it again. 6 months later, I didn't expect to hear from either of them again, but life has a cruel sense of timing. One quiet Sunday morning, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name written in handwriting I recognized instantly. It was Sienna. She wrote 5 pages. Long-winded, full of apologies. She talked about how her relationship with Elaine had soured ever since Travis left, how her mother had grown cold, resentful, and depressed. How Sienna herself had started therapy and realized she had projected her fear of abandonment onto me. That calling me selfish was a defense mechanism. A stupid emotional outburst from someone who didn't want to admit they had taken unconditional love for granted. She ended with, "I know I can never undo what I said, and I don't expect things to go back to the way they were. But I want you to know, I did love you. I still do. And I'm sorry I didn't show it when it mattered most." I sat with that letter for hours. My heart wanted to believe her. The part of me that raised her, tucked her in after nightmares, coached her through school dances and first heartbreaks. That part ached to just pick up the phone and say, "I forgive you. Let's talk." But another part of me, the one that woke up alone in a guest room after Elaine's betrayal, the one that listened to his daughter call him selfish like everything he did, had been nothing more than a footnote. That part remembered. I folded the letter, slid it back into the envelope, and placed it in a drawer, not out of anger, not out of pride, but because not everything broken needs to be put back together. 2 weeks later, Sienna showed up at my job. I was out on the field with the boys, coaching the high school football team through sprints, when I saw her standing by the bleachers in jeans and a windbreaker. She looked different, not in a physical sense, but heavier somehow, like life had finally forced her to carry the weight she once dumped on me. After practice, I walked over slowly. She offered a tentative smile. "Hi, Dad." The word punched me in the chest. "I'm not here to cause problems," she added quickly. I wanted to look you in the eyes and say I'm sorry. Not just in a letter. I was unfair. I let Mom poison my view of you. I took what we had for granted." I studied her. For the first time, I could see the lost little girl behind her eyes again. The one who used to reach for my hand in a crowd, who once called me her hero without hesitation. "I appreciate you saying that," I said softly. She looked down. "Are we okay?" I took a deep breath. This was the moment I realized what closure really meant. "No, Sienna. We're not okay. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But that doesn't mean I hate you. I loved you like my own for 16 years. That doesn't disappear. But love needs respect. And that's what I didn't get when it mattered." She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "I understand. I miss you. I miss us." "I know," I said gently. "But missing someone doesn't always mean you get them back." There was silence. Then I said, "You have to build your own life now." "So do I." We stood there in the fading sun for a moment longer. Then she hugged me. I didn't expect it. It was hesitant at first, unsure if I'd accept it, but I did. I hugged her back, not as a return, not as a promise, but as a goodbye to the version of us that once existed. Elaine never reached out again. Not directly, but I heard from a mutual acquaintance that she'd lost her job. Something about improper conduct and a blow-up with her supervisor. I didn't feel joy or revenge, just pity. She had burned every bridge and now stood in the ashes, cold and alone. As for Sienna, we've exchanged a few emails. Civil, polite, but distant. She's working at a nonprofit now, going back to school part-time. She seems to be growing, slowly, painfully, but genuinely. I wish her well from afar. Today I sit on my porch most mornings with a mug of coffee and my dog, Baxter, curled up at my feet. The sun rises slower here in this new town. Life feels quieter, lighter. There are no slamming doors, no guilt, no betrayal curled up next to me in bed. Just peace. Sometimes people say I should have tried harder to mend things, that family is family no matter what. But here's what I know now. Family isn't about blood or time served. It's about respect, integrity, and love that doesn't come with conditions. And when you give your all to people who treat it like it's disposable, the strongest thing you can do is walk away, not to punish them, but to save yourself. And that's exactly what I did. I walked away, and I never looked back.